The key to success on the field and in your backyard is a comprehensive game plan. So if you're building a fence or a deck this year, trust a Turkstra coach to design, quote, or order the right materials for your project. Visit a Turkstra Lumber near you to learn more.
From the Ticats Audio Network, this is the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker.
Welcome back to the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker. We are halfway through the regular season with the Hamilton Tiger Cats, second place in the East, and coming off of a big win against the first place Toronto Argonauts. Excited to break that down today with Coach. The Coach O Show with Luke Tasker is presented by Turkstra Lumber. Check out the project coaches at Turkstra Lumber. They can help with any part of your home renovation, and you can learn more about that at turkstralumber.com. Fans, also each week we've got a new feature. You can email in a fan question to the Coach O Show. We will pick one per show to each week to read to Coach. We've got one coming up in a couple minutes here. All you have to do is think of your question and email that to gameday@ticats.ca, and we might pick your question for next week to ask Coach. Coach, great to see you as always, and congrats on a huge win.
Appreciate it, Luke. Great to see you also. And winning is fun.
It is, and the fans loved it too. Up in the broadcast booth, it felt electric in there. We had a good crowd at Tim Hortons Field, and a great game down to the end there, and nothing like getting a win in front of the great Tim Hortons Field fan and the excitement that brings.
Yeah, I mean it's really an understatement. It's something that you have to experience, and I was whenever you can come through like that at home, I think it's extremely important. And, I just want to make mention, I think the crowd deserves, a lot of recognition, right? Just from the standpoint of they're always loud. But I think there was points in that game where they could have turned on this ball club very easy, despite how things were going. And, and we had to go with, Jamie Newman in there at quarterback and things, they weren't going that way. And I didn't hear boos. I didn't hear anything, and that doesn't mean that they didn't feel like it. But I just think that there's something to be said when you see. It tells me that they do appreciate great effort, great football, tough-nosed. Those guys were out there laying it on the line, and so I think there should be a little bit of recognition for. You're always entitled to do that. It's a sports entertainment business, but just when you support, sometimes support comes in different forms and fashions, and sometimes it's what you don't say as opposed to what you do say.
I love it, and you're so right. It was a positive, energetic crowd, and the only negativity was towards the everyone wearing blue and white out there. But it almost felt to me it's like a precursor of Labor Day,
or maybe even stripes. Maybe even stripes.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, anyways, moving on.
The stripes got some booze, I think, too, Coach. You're right. I listening back to our broadcast, we actually misquoted it. We thought it was 5 penalties. It was 7 penalties in the last minute and a half and 2 challenges, all in the last minute and a half of the half there. And of course, I saw you and Craig Butler. I mean, it was mayhem, and I felt. To make myself a little vulnerable on the airwaves here, I wasn't sure about the exact ruling to a pyramid call, but I'm pretty sure that wasn't one.
I think you and I both would rather keep. You've got a big growing family. You probably keep all our money in our pocket.
Okay.
I was not in favor of that call personally. I'm not going to have any judgment on what was called, but hopefully we can get that sorted out moving forward.
Yeah, a little strange. Cam Kelly got the flag for pyramiding, which normally, whatever happened in the game, didn't look like he used his hands enough for me to call that pyramiding, but I'm not wearing the black and white, so that's the way it goes.
Right.
But to your point, Coach, the fans, the ups and downs of the game, particularly the end of that second half where it looked like maybe it was going to be a tie game, and of course the Argonauts are able to get points on the board from a series of bizarre events. Talk a little bit about your team overcoming that and maybe what your reaction at halftime was as you had to deal with sort of the reality of a very strange last minute of football.
Well, I think, first of all, extremely proud. I'm proud of just everybody involved and people having to step up. And, like we always say, injuries are part of the game, and everybody that's suited up is going to be expected to contribute, and sometimes in more ways than we may be envisioned. As far as the messaging at halftime, it was real. It really wasn't anything more than let's just play. And I know that sounds overly simplistic, but there was too much focus on uncontrollable factors. What we can control is our response to everything, and let's just play football. Let's just play football, and then let's see what happens. Let's not give Toronto anything that we can control. If they earn something, hey, I get it. And it just was that. And I don't think it was any bigger than that. Yeah, you could sit here and say, the penalties and whatnot, but to me, we control some of those by our response to things. So the messaging was to the point. It was quick. And if they decided that they wanted to make this happen, then we needed to play football and not worry about all the other stuff.
Yeah. Got to touch on the quarterback situation. So, and again, the longer you watch football and are a part of it, it becomes more and more true that adversity is the only thing that we have for sure in every football game. And Matt Schiltz throws the early interception. Amazing play by a Toronto defender to make that catch. But bad moment in the game, bad field position to do it, and sort of a lot of people in the stadium. And to your point about the crowd and the positivity, a lot of people were surely thinking, kind of here we go again with an untimely turnover. But that's not the way that the game continued. I mean, Matt Schiltz did a really, really impressive job of handling the game. And then Jamie Newman comes in and does his own part in protecting the football and leading the team down the field. Can you talk about just your quarterback room and how these guys are learning to maybe work together and share some of the burden of responsibility?
Well, first of all, I think Tommy does an outstanding job in that room. They meet daily, and these guys meet a lot on their own. And, the bond is special in there. What I'll appreciate is, if you ask everybody to a man, they all want to play, they all want to start. But at the end of the day, they know what they signed up for, and they're always going to, put the team first once all the individual thoughts are done rambling through their mind. I thought overcoming adversity there with Schiltz early just spoke to the leader that he is, and he could have crumbled. Team could have turned. It could have been a different vibe, and it just wasn't that. And it's easy to say that now that we won and everything, but even if the outcome would have been different, I think you saw a guy that cared, that plays with passion, that can rebound. He seemed like he had been there before. That's something that you can't bring. You either have or you haven't. And it didn't really preclude us from, maybe going way away from a game plan that we envisioned in the beginning. So just huge credit to them. And then Jamie coming in there and stepping up. He did a fantastic job, took some big shots, and I thought Tommy did a fantastic job of calling plays, especially during that time of the game. They gave us a chance.
I remember at the beginning of training camps, one coach would be assigned to sort of a ball security, breakdown, like a meeting, and because every year I would be used in both slideshows, the bad ball security slideshow, like where I had the ball out, above my outside of my body with one hand. And then I'd find a good one of me iron crossing. And I think Jamie Newman solidified himself in the good slideshow for next training camp by running the last 15 yards in the open field, double iron crossing it. I thought I was dying. I thought that was the most amazing thing. That you and the offensive coaches are hammering down the ball security. I mean, did you know what I'm talking about? He had the thing totally locked up.
Yeah, so maybe you get a little less airplay in training camp in the future. But I will say this. I think what kind of goes unnoticed with that, the noticeable thing, obviously, was the ball security or what some may deem as overkill. But I don't think there's any overkill. But how about just the wherewithal, understanding the situation of the game and how vital it was to not maybe get 6 extra yards or 7, but sacrificing it for the security. And I think just that wherewithal tells you how in tune he was with that part of the football game and just how important that possession, which ultimately led to points, was.
Yeah, 100%. I was real just proud of a football player to do that and to not. You're so right, because that's a great way to put your sacrifice. Maybe you get a couple more yards if you open up your running stride, but that's not what's important right now. And I also think it takes a special level of football knowledge to know it's when you're in the middle of the field in the hashes you can feel by yourself and really not be. And somebody can be a lot closer than you think, when you've got angles behind you that are all blind. And man, I think that was just really, really an awesome thing to see of a guy who said, not me. Like, it's not going to be me who fumbles the ball. So well done to a quarterback who was in the game probably and maybe not having expected himself to be there.
Yeah, well said. Absolutely, I agree.
Coach, also, I mean, another trending stat for the Ticats in the right direction. Of course, you and I have talked about the fourth quarters this year, and that one was an excellent fourth quarter. The second half, you outscored the Argonauts 20-6, and in the fourth quarter, you really secured and hung on to the lead. You maintained momentum. What did you tell your team? Have you addressed that to your team yet, and to what a difference that made?
Well, yeah, we made note of that the day after the game, and I think it was about 17 or so fourth quarter points, and we were going to have to score if we planned on winning that game anyway. So, it was mentioned. It wasn't overly celebrated, but it's something that it's like I said leading into this. It's three phases that contributed to those 17 points. Yes, the offense scored them, but that means the defense has to get off the field. Special teams has to do its part to not get them backed up or take, ridiculous penalties at crucial times. And, so credit the offense for, punching it in and making some big plays, but it's also, two other phases that contributed to that too, just as the other two phases contribute also sometimes when it's the other way.
Yeah. Complimentary football, it was a perfect example of it, and Lawrence Woods had 25 yards average punt return. I mean, unbelievable. And actually, coincidentally, Toronto's net punt was also 25 yards, which is abysmal, obviously, for a punt unit. I mean, just an incredible job around the board. And, of course, what everyone's thinking hearing this right now is, and he got one called back.
Yes.
Right? So, I mean, just an incredible job by the return team all around. And, man, what a huge difference, especially for a young quarterback, or at times in the game when you were, dealing with injuries in the quarterback department, that the field position was, for the most part, beneficial for the Ticats. And another aspect of your guys' positivity that came out of the Toronto game to me is 149 yards on the ground, average 7 yards a carry. What's changed? Why so much success on the ground in some of these later games when early on it was a point of struggle and for you guys' production?
Well, I think it's a combination of things, right? It's lineup, it's opponent, and and you can add in just a little bit of maybe different levels of commitment to it. But we have a group up there now that has played together for a few weeks. We're forced to do a few different things on offense, and it's come in different fashions. It's not like it's all come from the running back position. Sometimes it's the receiver, and that's kind of how we've been since Tommy's been here. And we're okay with that. I think it might have been a little different when C.J. Gable was here. There might be some more just direct intentional runs, but for the most part, we have the quarterback skill sets to make some more quarterback runs in there, and it's always in the timing of doing it. So sometimes it's the opponent also and what they're giving you.
Sure. Huge touchdown pass, Tim White, the end of the game there, or in the last half of the game, and Matt Schultz was obviously, couldn't play in the third quarter. And I can tell you, he looked good enough to be playing, but I know from experience, if you have to miss a quarter of football, you're not feeling 100%, even if you can go back out there. Tell me about that play, your involvement in it, what it looked like to you, and just how exciting that was with Tim White catching that and staying on his feet.
Well, I wish I could say I was extremely involved, but I was involved in the excitement. Sometimes players need opportunity, and, every ball that you caught, Luke, you caught a lot of contested balls, and you caught balls where you knew you're going to have to take punishment. And then you had your fair share of, spinning the DB around and just, catching it in the breadbasket, right? It's like catching a pillow sometimes. So they come in all forms, but I think the key thing there is without opportunity, you don't know how things are going to turn out. And there was a ball that Tim was given opportunity, and he made the play. And if if you don't throw that ball, whether he's open or not, then you don't know what's going to happen. So, great protection to start. There was a beautiful pocket for Matt to step up in, and then, throwing a ball that's catchable, and then Tim making a play. And that's what you need sometimes. Everything's not going to be schemed open. Sometimes you just got to make a play. And so, excited for our ball club, and it was a timely play. It was definitely needed. And sometimes you're not going to be able to sustain drives of 8-9 plays. Sometimes you're going to have to get an explosion in there. And, great play by Tim there, and it really lifted our football team. So that's about as much as I had to do with it.
No, that's great. You're so right. And at a time when Tim White was heavily involved and leading receiver in a lot of early games, and then sort of quiet in a couple weeks. And to me, thinking back as a player, to be in that situation where you're kind of wondering, can I get more involved, or why am I not more involved, or I want to make an impact, and then a chance all of a sudden out of the blue, heat up like a microwave, and you've got to go and be great, all in a 7-second football play. To make that catch and stand on his feet, I just thought was a testament to the athlete that he is, and the impact that he is going to have, moving forward as well. Just really, really impressive player.
Yeah, he has that potential, and he's shown it. And I think he himself would want, he wants to separate himself too and be amongst the elite. And those are the plays that the elite make consistently. So I think he's on his way, and I think the other thing is that people wouldn't know about Tim is he doesn't miss practice. Like, he takes every rep, and that. There's a few players like that, but most players need some time. And of course, you would know with June. Like, I thought you guys, in all seriousness, I thought you guys were workhorses. Like, there was times when I was sitting there as a coach, and I'd look over and see 45 minutes of Indy, and I'd think, how are we going to fill this?
I'll tell you how. Drag routes.
Yeah. I mean, we're running mesh.
We're running mesh.
Oh, my goodness. And between you and Jalen and Speedy and Mike Jones and, Justin Buren probably was wishing he didn't come out in the draft. He could have waited a year. So, but I just, you guys persevered and you did it. And so he's just one of those workhorses.
Okay, Coach. It's time for our fan question for the Coach O Show. This is a two-part question. Well, multi-parts, actually. Robert's got a good one for us here. So first, Coach, when you're watching two other teams play outside of the league, I assume college, NFL, when you got some other football on the TV, can you relax? Are you able to relax and take off your coaching hat?
Great question. I think I actually am a little bit there. You're always kind of saying, oh, that's an interesting play, but that doesn't mean that I can't relax. I think I am able to relax. I think where the coaching thing comes in is just no different than any fan, and that is, why are we calling a timeout here? Why didn't we throw it there? So that's just a natural reaction, but I'm just kind of enjoying being a fan and doing that. So I am able to turn it off a little bit, but I'd be lying to you if I said, there wasn't 10, 15% that says, interesting, probably wouldn't have done that. But I'm not really sitting there saying, okay, they need to play zone here, they should be playing man, or I'd do an onside kick here. There's a piece you can't turn off, but for the most part, I'm just trying to enjoy it. Especially, there's two different. I'm watching NCAA. It's usually pre-recorded. Very seldom am I able to catch one live. Yeah. That's kind of fun, just to enjoy the atmosphere when you're hearing the band and everything. And then NFL is a little bit different, where I get a little frustrated, to be honest with you. It's kickoff, commercial, one play, commercial. It's like, I'd rather do yard work.
Yeah. Or clean the car.
Right? Yeah, or clean the car. So I like to PVR those games so I can get through the commercials.
Yeah, that's good. If you go catch back on your whatever podcatcher you listen to, Coach O's pregame routine is a legendary one. You can go back and listen to that. Yeah, I always thought, Coach, the end of the NFL season, the Super Bowl February or whatever, it was perfect timing, because you watch that, and I loved the NFL playoffs are awesome. You watch the Super Bowl, and it's right as you're gearing up into your heavy training for the CFL season. You've already had your off time kind of once Super Bowl comes around, and so I always thought that watching that the other league playing, and you go, cool, this is great. I'm ready to start running again. Finally after being in Florida for a couple weeks and and laying low. It was always my my early off-season inspiration was the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and remember, I used to voice that to everybody. It's like, yeah, I know everybody's going to dabble with a few jogs or whatever, but let your body heal, and then, you should be gearing to go, at first week of February. You should have the itch back, and I just feel like you need rest and time away, just like anybody else.
Exactly. Okay, Robert's got a couple other ones back to back here. So this one's the two-part question. We've got, Coach, when the game plan is set and then you take the field, during the game, how active a part are you playing in play calling, or are you letting your coaches coach? And on this, in the flip side of that, or in addition to that, how involved are you in making halftime adjustments?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think it's all predicated game to game. I think I'm always giving 2 cents every halftime. I'm talking with the offensive coaches, not a whole bunch, just a minute or two, because they've got their own things that they got going. But I think the thing to remember is, there's always communication during the game. It's not about waiting until halftime always to make it. For the most part, I'd say I'm letting my coaches coach. If you said which way am I leaning more, I'm letting them coach because they've watched double the amount of film that I have, and they put together a game plan. And I've been in those shoes, right, where, as a D coordinator, yeah, you're always going to want feedback, but most of your feedback's coming from your assistant coaches who spent all that time, where my time spread throughout the organization in different ways. Definitely watching my fair share of tape also, but yeah, I'm always giving feedback to Mark. I'm giving feedback to Craig and Tommy as the coordinators, but for the most part, they're gonna call their game and do their thing. Where I come in is more game management. I'm active in that. We should have the clock keep running here. We can't give them a quick score mark. Hey, Butts, maybe we should try a field return. I could go on and on, but that's not to say that happens every game. Some games more than others.
Does your amount of involvement change, or is it been influenced and affected based off your time as a coordinator and some of the things you liked and disliked about coaches that you had?
Yeah, I think you are always influenced, by your experiences, I believe, and so, I was fortunate, and this would be probably another 20 minutes, so I'll make my point quickly. I was fortunate to really work for offensive head coaches for the most part, and I think that makes a difference. And so if I'm an offensive coordinator and I have an offensive head coach, you're probably going to, be on that side of the ball more, where I would say I'm really no different. I'm probably around. I mean, Tommy's office is right next to mine, so we're always passing each other, whether it's at the coffee machine or just saying hello or whatever, popping in each other's office. But I'd say that, I probably have, if you said which do you have your hand more in, I'd say probably on the defense. I think it's just natural. So, yeah, I am definitely influenced by how it was. And it's, when you're hired to do a job, I believe if I wanted to call offensive plays and I wanted to call special teams plays and defensive plays, then I should do it. Other than that, you should find the right people who usually are experts in their fields, which in our case, it is exactly the truth. And you let them go to work, and you're a support system. And that doesn't mean that I don't give suggestions, but I believe in letting them work.
That's great. Robert, thanks for the fan question of the week. Robert also added, thank you both for doing the Coach O Show, and to everyone at the Ticat Audio Network. Thanks, Robert. The Coach O Show is sponsored by Turkstra Lumber. Be sure to check out the project coaches at Turkstra Lumber. They can help with everything from ordering the right materials for your project to designing your entire renovation. Do it yourself does not mean do it alone. Visit turkstralumber.com, turkstralumber.com to learn more. Coach, final question for you. You're going up to Montreal this weekend. They're coming off of an enormous upset against Winnipeg. Not many onlookers expected that win from Montreal. What have you seen on film so far early in the week here that impresses you in that Montreal versus Winnipeg game?
Just they went in there and with no hesitation. I thought they played hard in all three phases, and their confidence and their belief seemed to grow as the game went along. Did they catch a couple breaks down the end? Absolutely, but they handled the part that they could control, and so they always play hard. You turn the tape on and you see a team they have talent and they play hard, and hey, listen, whenever Winnipeg lost, they were gonna, whatever team did it, they were gonna get a huge amount of credit, and as they should. And it's hard to stay on top, and streaks are meant to be broken. And so, yeah, I just think that, and they're a tough team, and it's a tough place to play. They're going to be ready to go, and we'll be ready to go. And it's an Eastern Division game, and don't mind the build-up and the hype. But at the end of the day, the game's played between the lines, and there'll be no carryover from our game after a big win, and there'll be no carryover. I won't speak for their football team.
Great. Well said. Ticats are 1-0 against Montreal, going to try to make it 2-0 this weekend. Coach, been a pleasure like always. Appreciate your insight and feedback, and I hope you guys have a great week of prep as you get ready to head out to Montreal. Fans, you can email your questions every week to gameday@ticats.ca, and you could have your questions asked on next week's show. Again, that's gameday@ticats.ca. Coach, have a great week, man.
Hey, you too. Thanks, Luke.
Another episode of the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker is in the books. Let us know your thoughts. Email us at gameday@ticats.ca. Coach O and Luke are back next week to discuss the latest from the locker room. Subscribe to the Ticats Audio Network on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.